Hey, Class A, it's your girl Profe here to tell you a little bit more about the preterite tense. When you are conjugating any verb that ends in car, gar, or zar in the preterite, you have to remember that they will have an irregular yo. So they will spell change in the yo form only. Let me explain why this happens. Sacar, for example, which you guys of course know means to take out. If I were to conjugate it normally in the preterite, the yo form would be written like this. But how do you pronounce that? You're right, it would be pronounced sase. That's not right, we want it to be sake. So in order for it to be sake, we have to change the C to QU to make the yo form sake. Let's look at the rest of the forms. You guys know your endings for the preterite tense for AR verbs are aste, o, amos, astes, aron. And let's see if these are pronounced correctly. Sacaste, sacó, sacamos, sacastes, sacaron. They are fine. So these verbs are irregular in the yo form only. So I'm marking that so I can see that they're different from the rest. Let's look at a Gar verb. For example, apagar, which I believe is new to you, which means to put out or to turn off. And if it was normal, I would take off the AR ending and add a, and that's what I would get for the yo form. But how would you pronounce this yo form? Apahe. Because remember that G, when it's followed by the letters E and I, is pronounced like an H, so apahe. We want to make it apage, so how do you make it gay? We change it from G to GU, and we get apage. Now it's correct. If I check the rest of them to see how they would be pronounced, let's look. GA would be ga. GO is go, so the rest are fine. Apagaste, apagó, so on and so forth. And now let's look at verbs that end in zar. Zar verbs, like empezar, which means to start or begin, would honestly be pronounced correctly if I didn't spell change them. However, in Spanish, you cannot Z-E. You don't Z-E in Spanish. For example, como se dice light in Spanish? La luz. You don't have to write this part that's in gray. It's just for an example. La luz, as you know, is light. And if I want to make it plural, usually you would just add es. But you guys have already seen that the plural is luces. You change the Z to a C. The same thing with lapis and lapises. You don't Z-E in Spanish. So, because I cannot Z-E in Spanish, this yo form would not be correct. I have to change the Z to a C. And now I have the correct form of the yo form for empezar. And then the rest, aste, o, amos, estes, aron, would be fine because you can ZA in Spanish and you can ZO, but you cannot ZE. So I'm just going to circle the yo form again. I didn't mean to write over it, to show that the yo form and the yo form only is different. I've mentioned this to the class before, but this is when it becomes really, really important. To get full credit, your G's and Q's must have tails. When you guys write, I have to know that you're changing it from C to QU and G to GU and not vice versa. So when you write out your conjugations, and from now on, G's and Q's must have tails. Alright, that's what happens to car, gar, and zar verbs. Keep practicing your preterite.